Meet the first recorded UFO sightings of the U.S. 1639 October 1, 2019. On March 1, 1639, John Winthrop opened his diary in which he recorded the trials and triumphs of his fellow Puritans as they sought new life in America. When the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony put his pen to paper, he began recounting an unusual event that had recently caused a stir among English immigrants. Meet the first recorded UFO sightings of the U.S. 1639 John Winthrop portrait. Credit: Public domain. Winthrop wrote that earlier this year James Everell, sober and discreet man, and two others were rowing a boat on the muddy river, which flowed through the marsh and into a tidal basin on the Charles River, when they saw a great light in the night sky. When he stopped, he caught fire and was about 3 square meters, reported the governor. When it worked, it was contracted into a pig. Over the course of 2 to 3 hours, the boatman said the mysterious light ran as fast as an arrow, firing between them and the village of Charlestown, at a distance of about 2 miles. Several other credible people saw the same light, then almost in the same place, Winthrop added. The governor wrote that when the strange apparition finally disappeared, the 3 Puritans on the boat were stunned to find themselves 1.6 kilometers upstream, as if the light had transported them there. The men had no recollection of paddling against the tide, although it is possible that they might have been carried by the wind or a reverse tide. Jocks Valley and Chris Aubeck wrote in Onders in the Sky, Unexplained Aerial Objects from Antiquity to Modern Times. Onders in the Sky, Unexplained Aerial Objects from Antiquity to Modern Times. The mysterious repositioning of the boat might suggest that they were unaware of part of their experience. Some researchers would interpret this as a possible alien abduction if it happened today. Some have speculated that the curious glow might have been an ignis fatuus, a pale light that may appear over the swamp at night due to the combustion of gas from decomposed organic matter. If Winthrop's account is correct, however, the light was not rising from the swamp but shooting through the sky, which makes this explanation unlikely. A strange sight returned to the skies of Boston 5 years later, according to another note in Winthrop's diary, dated January 18, 1644. Around midnight, 3 men, getting on a boat to Boston, saw 2 lights rising from the water near the river, to the northern point of the city's man-shaped cove, and went a short distance to the city, and then to the south point, and disappeared. A week later, Winthrop wrote, another inexplicable celestial event occurred over Boston Harbor. A light like the moon came upon the Any Point in Boston, and met a second at Noddle's Island, and there they closed in one, and then parted, and closed and parted several times, and so they went over the hill on the island and disappeared. Sometimes they fired flames and sometimes they sparkled. It was about 8 o'clock at night and were seen by many. His account continued. At the same time, a voice was heard in the water between Boston and Dorchester, screaming in the most terrible way possible, "Boy, boy, come away, come away," and suddenly moved from place to place a great distance, about 20 times. She was heard by many people. About 14 days later, the same similarly terrible voice was heard by others across town toward Noddle's Island. Unlike the 1639 UFO, Winthrop had an explanation for the latest luminescence about his hilltop city. The governor noted that the bizarre spectacle was seen near the spot where a ship captained by John Chaddock had exploded months earlier after a sailor accidentally lit gunpowder aboard the ship. The captain was not on board at the time, but the blast killed 5 crew members. Winthrop noted that the rescuers had recovered the bodies of all the victims except the man considered responsible for the calamity, a sailor who professed the ability to communicate with the dead and who was suspected of murdering his master in Virginia. The devil's hand is thought to have taken possession of the body, and it was the frightening voice of the sailor's ghost that would have accompanied the strange sight of the UFO that mystified Boston.